Broadcast has been set.
Thank you. The time is now 7:09. Good evening and welcome to the January 25th, 2024 fiscal year 2025 superintendent.
Buenas noches a todos y gracias. I think I was in place on the interpreting line, me and Mr. Brian Villatoro. Sorry.
Okay, so is everyone in
second.
place now? The interpreters and everyone in place?
Well, they normally give the announcement once you go through your script. You allow them to make the announcement to go into the interpreter room. So we haven't moved them over yet.
Okay, so we will start over. Good evening and welcome to the January 25th, 2024 fiscal year 2025 superintendent's proposed operating budget public hearing. My name is Judy McInsmurry, board chair. Before we begin, I would like to ask everyone to turn off any wireless communication devices to avoid any technical interference with the microphones and taping of the meeting. The meeting is currently being live streamed via YouTube. We also have Spanish interpretation services available for this evening. Ms. Marita, I'm sorry. Please announce that Spanish interpretation is available by clicking on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen.
Esta noche estamos teniendo interpretación simultánea disponible en español. Si usted necesita servicios de interpretación, por favor toque el globo que aparece en su pantalla para escuchar esta presentación en español simultáneamente.
Thank you so much. For viewers who are not able to observe at this time, the meeting is being recorded and will be available for later viewing on Prince George's County Public Schools YouTube channel. This evening's meeting of the Board of Education is convened for the sole purpose of receiving public feedback on the fiscal year 2025 superintendent's proposed operating budget, which our superintendent presented at the December 7, 2023 superintendent fiscal year 2025 proposed budget presentation. The Board of Education appreciates your participation in this public hearing to voice your opinions on the superintendent's proposed operating budget. With the public's involvement, we aim to meet the needs of our students and staff in Prince George's County Public Schools collaboratively. Ms. Adeline, please call the roll.
Mrs. Adam Stafford.
Here.
Ms. Buda Strother.
Present.
Mr. Briggs.
Present.
Dr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Jackson.
Here.
Mrs. Asaya Frazier.
Present.
Dr. J. Miller. Dr. Z. Miller. Mr. Murray. Mrs. Rout.
Present.
Ms. Walker. Ms. Rivera Forbes. Mrs. McInsmurry.
Present. We have a quorum. Public comment. We will now hear from our registered speakers. You have been registered to speak in the public comment forum where the Board of Education will listen to your comments. The board will not address your comments. All registered speakers will have 3 minutes to make their presentation. Registered speakers may not relinquish any part of their speaking time to another registered or unregistered individual. Speakers may not address individuals or issues with profanity or derogatory terms. You will be warned once. If you continue, your comments will be muted, and you may be removed from the speaking. Speakers are encouraged to use titles rather than names, for example, chair, board member, superintendent, principal, etc. Your adherence to these guidelines will enable the public participation process to move smoothly. Our first speaker is Nate Hanson, student.
Good evening. I am a student from Eleanor Roosevelt High School, part of the Environmental Defense Club, and I am here on behalf of PGCPS climate parents at my school. Installing solar panels on the roof of Eleanor Roosevelt High School would give about 3,005,749 kilowatts per year. Roosevelt's flat roof should make the construction of new solar panels relatively easy. As a high priority Cycle 3 school, it will soon be the perfect time to do this. Additionally, new grants from the Maryland Energy Association can reduce any installation costs and may be enough to cover the cost of the project. The extra power will save on operating costs of the school, namely lowering the cost of electricity bills. The money saved could be spent on future renovations, salaries for teachers and other employees, etc. I hope that you'll consider not only doing this for Roosevelt, but when renovating any other PGCPS school, as it is as it is most important to combat climate change at its source.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Were you finished?
Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Our next speaker is Mahaya, Individual Special Needs Education Class Sizes.
She is not here as of yet, Chair. You can move on to the next name, please.
Thank you. And I will call the names. You let me know whether or not they're there. Okay, I appreciate that. Milani Clark, the ARC Prince George's Special Education Operation.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Melanie Clark. I'm the Division Director of the ARC of Prince George's County Family Education and Community Engagement. The ARC of Prince George's County is requesting Prince George's County Public Schools allocate $350,000 to continue a pilot program that was launched in collaboration with Prince George's County Public School System at Special Education Department in 2023. At the time of the launch, the school system did not have funds to allocate to this work, but intended to look for resources to continue the work. We understand that the allocation of funds will require a competitive bid process. The most important thing is that at the ARC, we have the qualified people to be able to keep up with the changes in adult services and have the time and expertise to help families navigate the difficult process of transitioning planning for students that are leaving school. First, they will have the opportunity to get understanding of the benefits that they need to apply for and coaching to support them entering into adult services. The ARC supports people with developmental disabilities and their families from birth throughout their lifespan. We are the go-to organization for resources and supports. We also provide training and coaching to young people and help their families prepare for life after school. Under this MOU, the ARC conducts outreach calls, assess families who have agreed to participate, and we do this in a way of a friendly color-coded method so families will know where they are in the process of transitioning out of school into adult services. We try to do this in the most proactive way. There's no other entity that's able to provide this type of support and case management to families. Families are often assisted with applying for Medicaid, SSI, state long-term support disability services, employment, work readiness resources, Metro Access. Without this critical support, a lot of these students may forfeit benefits that could range up to $25,000 to $40,000. Students, if they fail to get into these programs, they may also regress and may also lose social skills and ability to be in employment programs. And most of all, their families may be impacted as they may have to stay home and become full-time caregivers. So we're hoping that Prince George's County Public Schools will include this initiative in its FY 2025 budget of $350,000 to make sure this work happens in the most complete and compassionate way. And we want to make sure that every student who has a disability are prepared with college and career readiness. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Joseph Jakuda, Climate Parents of Prince George's County Energy Use.
Thank you, Board of Education, for considering our testimony on PGCPS's FY25 operating budget. My name is Joseph Chikuda, and I'm representing the Climate Parents, which is a campaign to reduce climate change causing pollution in our schools. It's been over a year since the Board of Education adopted the plan that we can see that PGCPS has been hard at work putting it into action. Having read the mid-year and July reports, it's clear substantial progress is being made in implementing the climate change action plan. It's especially vital now that we have Dorothy Morrison acting as our sustainability lead for PGCPS. But funding needs to continue to be provided for this important work, and we do think that many of the solutions presented can result in long-term cost savings for PGCPS. Some of our specific thoughts. First, the Blueprint schools have proved to be an excellent path for catching up on school replacements while building extremely sustainable schools. The board needs to make sure that this program is maintained. Our students should not be going to schools that leak heat, have undrinkable water, and are not updated to modern learning environments. The Blueprint also provides a unique financing approach that allows for the total cost of ownership to be truly accounted for and make sure we're all pound wise. Solar also offers a great way to save on energy costs, especially given all the tax incentives and grants available. We strongly encourage PGCPS to apply for the Public Facilities Solar FY24 grant program by MEA. This would be doubled up. This could be doubled up with high priority roof replacements, including the 21 roofs, such as the RHS, as mentioned earlier, that are at the end of their life cycles. Purchase solar through PPAs is another great way to lock in lower energy costs through long-term contracts and avoid the pitfalls of volatile rising electricity prices. We also encourage you to prioritize hiring and retention of crossing guards. We are not continuing to have the tragedies that we recently experienced in Prince George's County where our children walk to school. And walking is by far the most sustainable way to get to school and also better for the long-term health of students as long as they're kept safe. We also hope you continue to apply for the Clean School Bus Grant Program. Electric buses will save the school system in the long term and be a great boon for the health of the students to ride buses. While we're disappointed the EPA has not provided us funding yet, it's clear that these applications are in need from the recent deadline extension. There's also an electric bus pilot program under Climate Solutions Now Act, which would be a great opportunity to offset some of the costs. Also, please continue to provide staff funding for the expansion of the composting pilot to more schools, namely so that central staff can train school personnel and students on managing compost at individual schools. Finally, consider applying and possibly collaboratively with other LEAs to access the $8 million grants to improve indoor air quality and reduce greenhouse gases in schools. This could provide another opportunity to remove fossil fuel heating systems. And I guess I'm at the end of my time, so we will also submit written comments before the end of the period. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, Davina Alston, PGCEA member, pre-K teacher pay when para is absent.
Ms. Austin is not in the session as of yet. If she comes in, I will let you know.
Thank you so much. Next, Ms. Magali Salas, individual, phase 2, P3 projects, High Point.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent House, and members of the board. I have been a resident of the Adelphi High School area for 45 years, and during that time, I have consistently heard our county leaders express their desire to enhance what our county schools have to offer our children, to maximize their success, and also to obtain and retain competent teachers who are invested in the children's success. For sure, efforts have been made and impactful academic programs have been created and placed throughout the county. But as I've listened to the most recent conversations about which capital improvement programs are fully embraced by the board or the council, I find the current public discourse at times short-sighted. Our county has achieved national recognition for being the first school system in the nation to accelerate the construction of educational facilities through a strategic partnership with the private sector to address overcrowding and chronic over-enrollment. And it is precisely at this type of facility where the county can fully and successfully implement many of the academic goals and priorities that the superintendent's proposed budget specifies. Take, for example, the career and technical education programs on page 123 of the superintendent's proposed operating budget. CTE provides an educational program designed to give high school county students the opportunity to become readily employable in high demand and high wage professions. That is a win for the whole county, not only one area. This young workforce can reasonably be expected to invest in the county's economy and establish themselves as responsible and prosperous county residents. In a similar way, the current plan for the new Adelphi High School and for the replacement of the current High Point facility is the development of a CTE academic program that will result in similar gains and benefits for the whole county. Imagine these high schools graduating students at close to 100% rather than the current rate of less than 50%. But these academic and economic gains will be difficult to achieve if the physical facilities do not support the very best learning environment for our children. So I urge you to move forward together with a high level and long-term view of investing in far-reaching opportunities for all of our children. Take on the challenge to fight at all levels for strategies that will fully fund operating and capital priorities that will result in noteworthy and quantifiable opportunities for success for all of our county's children. Many thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we will have Ms. Phyllis Wright, individual, security, and metal detectors, and other budget items. You're on mute, Ms. Wright. Ms. Wright, you're on, okay.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Security. I would love to see metal detectors in all of our schools. I would love to see more security personnel in Flower High School. I went to William Hall today. The class size that we have, everybody is saying that there's a problem with getting more staff. I don't hear Howard County, Montgomery County. I would love to see smaller class sizes. As of today, I received 6 videos from William Hall Academy where the children are videotaping fights in the classrooms, in the bathrooms, and on the playground. This is a concern to me as a parent who has a child there. I like to see more teachers. We have to do better to getting educators into our school system. I like to see more vice principals, especially at William Hall Academy. We do not have no vice principal there. It's a K-8 school. We in dire need for support at William Hall Academy. I like to see not just metal detectors and security in high schools, but in all of our schools, because I was taught today that I had a student in the 4th grade who brought a knife to school, and it was not handled correctly with the personnel there. I am concerned. So when you speak of budget, think of my children, think of all of our children, think of the class sizes, because what I see us doing is warehousing our children and not educating our children. So when we think of budget, let's think of everybody. Let's think of the bus drivers. Let's think of the cafeteria workers. Let's think of the educators. And I thank you all for all the hard work that you guys is doing as well. But we must know that our children are not being educated. They're being warehouses because they're using YouTube and other techniques to do, the crime rate is up from the children 13 and up. We must also notify the parents, and the system must notify us when these children are not in school, because we learned that there's a problem. So if we can find the money for metal detectors, more personnel, for more teachers, instead of making excuses, we have the money. Let's pay the people. Let's bring them here to Prince George's County so our education can be on the top like it was once before, because right now we're in trouble, and I like to see us do better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we will have Dr. Donna Christie, PGCEA Alternative Infrastructure Planning and Development.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Dr. Donna Christie, president of PGCEA, and I'm going to try to use my 3 minutes to explain to the board and, more importantly, the public how school construction is normally financed and the alternative financing model the County Office of Budget Management asked PGCPS to develop for the Blueprint schools to avoid making out-of-state corporate developers pay their fair share and instead put the majority of the financing on local taxpayers. So here's how it happened. There are two primary sources of funding for our schools. Taxes, like your income and property taxes, go to operating expenses like educator salaries, mental health support, security, and summer learning opportunities. The other major source is government bonds. Those are used for school construction and maintenance. These bonds are loans the county government pays off when the new residential development pays a school facility surcharge. Residential development brings new families and new students to our schools, and this school facility surcharge is what they normally pay to build and maintain the schools those new families need. However, to encourage development, the county has lowered the surcharge inside the Beltway and near the metro, and sometimes they waive it completely. This has left the county without funds to support school construction bonds, and in 2022, the county was not able to issue bonds backed by the surcharge. They projected they would not have the funds until 2026. We must find other ways to encourage development inside the Beltway and near the metro stops. Since at least 2019, we have known that the county does not generate enough revenue from the surcharge of the school facilities. This is why the public-private partnership alternative financing model was created to pay for the Blueprint schools. So taxpayers would not, so out-of-state corporate developers would foot the bill, and our taxpayers are now paying it instead of them. So yet, since 2020, the county has raised property taxes above the limit set by the Maryland legislature to provide PGCPS an additional $120 million. Now the bill for the Blueprint schools is due, and as planned, the funds are expected to come out of the same pot of money as educator salaries, Chromebooks, school lunches, everything else that is paid for by your taxes because there's no other money available. PGCEA has opposed privatization at every turn and pushed our lawmakers to ensure corporations pay their fair share. But for years, the easy way has been taken instead of the more difficult right way. It now falls on the school board and our county council to ensure that we do not mortgage our students' education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tanya Wingfield, Citizens of Accountability and Governance, School-Based Programs and Resources. Ms. Wingfield, I saw her. Oh, there she is. You're on mute.
Okay, I'm on mute. Thank
Okay,
you.
ma'am, you're good.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I did get a chance to look through the budget, and I just have a couple questions about some things, and hopefully this will get information can get back to the public. Okay, on page 28, when we talk about the revenues and to look at the decrease in the federal resource, and it would be good for the public to know, is this because of grants that are sunsetting, or why is there that large decrease in revenues? The amount of money that we're talking about spending for textbooks, which has been decreased, if this is because it's going to be offset by maybe some online learning, or maybe students will be using tablets and downloading their curriculum, it would be good for the public to understand that. The transportation decrease, considering that we do have a transportation issue, it would be good for the public to know if this increase is only going to impact a already troubled transportation system. On page 75, the charter school totals are all missing. The formulas are off. So if that could be corrected so that the public can have that information accurately. Starting around page 103, when we talk about communications, you have the chief of communications, the media relations and strategic communications, and the media office. Is there a possibility that some of these services can be consolidated to save money, since we are looking to cut? So we would cut there before we do any school-based cutting in classrooms. And then starting around page 98, when it gets into the school board, I believe the legislation for the sunsetting of appointed members will be June of this year. So you still have, it looks like the budget is still accounting for the appointed members. So if that could be clarified for the public. And then finally, the public really should not have to hunt for this document. I want to thank the acting board director who took the time to help me locate this document. For years, we've always had this information posted in board docs as part of the agenda. We shouldn't have to hunt for it. And that's what I had to do, and put a link out on our page so that other people could have access to it. So let's return to making it easy for the public to get access to the information that this board is going to discuss in your hearings and in your board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Donna Young, individual contracts.
Unmuted? Nope. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Donna Young. I would like for you to listen to my testimony today because I am very concerned about the fiduciary responsibility of board members. For those of you who do not know and have not heard, there have been ongoing contract issues for years within Prince George's County Public Schools. One most recently that is concerning me is the fact that we have a contract, we had a contract issued and awarded to an individual, and after the fact, the board or administration, both are just as guilty, has seemed to push another company in, causing an increase in potential loss of us completing projects for renovating schools, building schools that should not be placed on the person who was awarded that contract. Now, I am concerned that many of the board members and senior staff in the administration do not hold themselves responsible for or accountable to our students, our stakeholders, nor our taxpayers. It appears, unless someone is dishing out promises for contributions, higher offices, or protection for misdeeds, there is no concern for the impact that this has on students. I am recently baffled over the regards of LAUNA being added in that PLA when it was not part of the original contract. Keep in mind that when a contract is awarded, any change is considered a scope change. And therefore, there is going to be additional costs in doing so. Yet, we seem to make changes without giving consideration to the awarded company or any consideration given to the impact of a loss in the event that that person backs out or the school board being sued. I would really like for our administration and our board members to understand what their fiduciary responsibility is, and for those in the administration to be willing to stand up when they see something transpiring in contracts, procurement process, or anything that is supposed to be focused on our children. And with that, I give back my time. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Rob Malone, the ARC Prince George's County Special Education and Transition Support.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Chair Mickens Murray, for this opportunity, and board members and Superintendent Howes. I'm Rob Malone, the CEO for the ARC Prince George's County. And I believe my colleague was on earlier. I was in the board meeting, so I'm glad I got to hop right off of that board meeting into here. We essentially, we're asking for support for a special project, essentially. And I think great projects that should be funded should have three components: a clear problem, a good solution, and proof. So the problem is we have young folks who leave our school system, they age out, and they are not all situated for adult supports and their next steps. And so what happens is they can end up languishing on the couch, not being engaged in society, not having the supports they need to find jobs, et cetera. Parents with those with significant needs can find themselves full-time caregivers, unable to go to work. And our community loses out on these people being served by service provider who are hiring staff to make sure they have the support they need. So that's the problem, and we know that is happening. And the second is the solution. We worked with the school system starting last January, so now about 12 months ago, to focus on transitioning students for school year 23 and 24. The goal of the project was to reach out, outreach to those families through mail, postcards, emails, phone calls, all so the purpose of we could assess each of those families, color code them from red, green, and yellow, and the ones in yellow and red to work and case manage, not wait for them to do something, but keep calling and make sure they get through the process so they're not missing out on these resources once the school bus stops coming. I have submitted written testimony and a copy of a presentation that shows quite a bit of data. And so that you can see it's working. You see, we found folks who actually graduated June 2023, who were in the red, who we still case manage, even though they're not in school. And that's the value. We have to make sure by June 2024, which is now 4 months away, that they are 100% situated to get the supports they need. So we're asking the school board somehow, some way, given all the challenges you have, to make sure we can fully close the book, reach the last mile, and make sure these students with special needs are college and career ready and have the supports they need for their adult life. Thank you all for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Ms. Barton, Ms. Adeline, are there any other speakers?
I don't believe so, Dr. Miller. I'm sorry, Chair Mickens Murray. I apologize. I don't believe so.
That's okay, thank you. And I see there were no written comments. So our next step, thank you all for attending the first January 25th, 2024 fiscal year 2025 Superintendent's Proposed Operating Budget Public Hearing. We hope to see you at the next budget public hearing on February 1st, 2024. This meeting will also be virtual. Please visit the board webpage for the Zoom links to access the session. The time now is 7:42 and the January 25th, 2024 fiscal year 2025 Superintendent's Proposed Operating Budget Public Hearing is adjourned. Thank you all, and we will see you on February 1st. Good night.
Night.